My next guest is going to jump on because I need a little legal help. Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com, back on the show to tell me about what's going on with the Trump trial. We're in day 2, and the question is that I have swirling for you, Jeremy Rosenthal. Tell me about this gag order. So there's a gag order on. Did Trump violate it, and what are the terms? How does this work?
Man, Judge and Donald Trump are playing a game of chicken on this thing. The judge is drawing a line in the sand, and he says, Donald Trump, don't cross it. And Donald Trump kind of crosses it, doesn't cross it, crosses it, doesn't cross it. And so we had kind of an explosive morning in the courtroom, but that's just what happens in trial. Donald Trump's not supposed to tweet or text or do any, Truth Social about any witnesses or really any of the jurors or courthouse personnel. The judge says, you can bash me all you want in public. You can bash Alvin Bragg. He's an elected official. You can bash him all you want. But the people who work here and the jurors, if you could leave them out of it. Of course, Donald Trump's number one target's Michael Cohen, who is a guy who's out there talking in public about him. And so the debate is, well, Donald Trump is saying, well, hold on, I'm also running for president, if you haven't noticed. And I feel like I need to be able to defend myself against this. But it was a very heated exchange this morning. The prosecutors in New York are asking that Donald Trump get fined. I think that the judge is going to – I don't think the judge wants to put Donald Trump in jail for no other reason than I think that Donald Trump might be kind of doing the throw me in the briar patch, right? So
it'll make a martyr out of him. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the judge is just fine to not put him in jail. So it's weird. Yeah.
Is this normal though? How often do you see gag orders like this?
Not often. I mean, you do see him in federal cases. You see him in racketeering cases. You see him in some high profile cases, right? I mean, the judge does have the limited ability to do that. The legal test is what is called strict scrutiny. That is from the U.S. Constitution, meaning that, boy, you have to get your X-Acto knife out if you're a judge and carve out that only which you can do if you're going to prevent some kind of speech. I guess it all comes to a head if they put Donald Trump in jail, and maybe even if they fine him, then we can see whether or not this order is any good. I think that's how you would test that thing.
Do we not know what's in the order, or did someone just tell us and we sort of anecdotally know?
Well, we know what's in the order. What we don't know is how the appellate courts and how the higher courts would look at the order. We don't know if the order would get strucken down. And because right now it's just kind of, I guess if you thought of it like it hasn't been triggered yet because it hasn't been violated. I suppose he could appeal it up if he wanted to at this point, probably. But if he gets fined, if you're held in contempt, I mean, judge can put people in timeout, right? And that's not really contempt. Contempt is its own criminal proceeding, which means you would actually have a trial in 3, 4, 5 months about whether or not he was in contempt. Now, a contempt charge, I don't think in New York State is going to be a felony, so it's going to be lesser, and you would have that debate at that point. Or if you had if they put him in jail and he was going to be in jail for 5 weeks, then his lawyers would obviously mobilize to try to get him out. I mean, he's fine with being a martyr, but I don't know how much he's going to like the food in the Manhattan City jail. I think that he might be like, yeah, enough.
And
right.
The toilet's going to have less gold in it. How is Trump being prevented from seeing his son's graduation?
So the trial court, we have all these rules in place, and I don't know that anybody ever thought that we would have a presidential nominee who has to stump be subject to them. The rules that require the judge or the rules that require a defendant to be present are really for the defendant's protection, right? I mean, there's 500,000 other people in New York State that are getting prosecuted that are not running for president. And the law says you have to be, if we're going to put you in a cage, if we're going to convict you criminally, you have to be here in court, right? Other countries will not extradite people if we convict them in absentia. So being at the trial is fundamental. Now, the judge does have flexibility to take off Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Why, if he doesn't let Donald Trump go to the graduation, and why? I mean, I would let him do it just so I didn't have to hear from it anymore. But we'll see what happens there.
All right, Jeremy Rosenthal, I think I'm going to have to go to law school just so I can understand a lot of what's going on. But thank you very much for lending some of your legal expertise. You can find him at texasdefensefirm.com. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, James.
It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.